Hello, everyone, and good morning. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. I'm Ashley Reyes with the Cadmus Group, and we are a contractor to EPA and the National Association of Conservation Districts, NACD. And we are thrilled to be able to host this meeting today and present some exciting updates about the Northeast Mid-Atlantic Partnership for Forests and Water. For those of you who may be joining us for the first time, the Northeast Mid-Atlantic Partnership for Forests and Water is a collaborative effort involving multiple agencies and partners aimed at enhancing coordinated, science-based restoration of vital forest landscapes and watersheds across 13 states in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic U.S. This partnership is currently funded by 2 U.S. Forest Service Landscape Scale Restoration Act grants, which are being managed by NACD. The streams, lakes, and reservoirs in our region provide drinking water to 66 million people, around 40% of the U.S. population, and approximately 25% of U.S. forests are located within the Northeast and Midwest regions. That totals over 89 million forested acres within our partnership area. This partnership is rooted in collaboration with the goal of benefiting the entire region, its ecosystems, our numerous partners, you all, and public health. And as you'll hear more later, partnership is really divided into 2 efforts: state partners working to achieve desired future conditions for water quality and quantity that are in their state forest action plans. And the regional partnership is focused on fostering shared learning, providing convening spaces, supporting restoration activities to ensure a sustainable future for forested watersheds. So let's begin with a bit of an overview of how the Northeast Mid-Atlantic Partnership, officially established in 2023, came to be. Our journey starts in 2019 when initial conversations were held between Kyra Jacobs with EPA and Carl Harnkinen with the U.S. Forest Service. They were in a parking lot following a meeting where the Southeastern Partnership for Forests and Water was being discussed, and they were excited to explore how they could model a new partnership in the Northeast, drawing inspiration from the successes of the Southeastern Partnership, making it their own, and setting us on the path that we're on today. So now I'm excited to pass it over to Kyra Jacobs with EPA Region 1, one of our founding members, to share more about the history of our partnership. Over to you, Kyra.
I can see many of you from Sherry Venno up in Holton, Maine, down to the folks in West Virginia on the line today. And many of you were a part of this original vision setting that we started in June of 2022 virtually. So Ashley was our facilitator, and we met with EPA headquarters funding. Thank you, EPA. We met with the vision or idea of gauging interest in, could we create this? And if we were to create a Northeast Mid-Atlantic Partnership for Forests and Water, what would it look like? What did we want it to be? Do we want it to be exactly like the Southeastern Partnership? And then at some point, somebody would have to apply for landscape scale restoration funding from the Forest Service. Couldn't be me, and it couldn't be Carl. So in June 2022, over 80 people attended. We had breakout sessions by state. At the time, we didn't have Ohio on board, so it was Maine to West Virginia. And for those of you who don't know, Forest Service Region 8 extends from Texas to Virginia. That's why they chose that particular geographic area. And then I think there are 20 states in Forest Service Region 9, which extends from, I believe, Wisconsin to Maine to West Virginia. So we didn't think we could take on 20 states, but here we are, 13 states strong. And so that's where we started. And then as that summer went on and the National Association of Conservation Districts stepped up and said, we're going to apply for the grant under the leadership of Jennifer Nelligan and Annika McGurk, we brought in Ohio, or they did. And for those of you who don't know, Carl can talk more about it later, but landscape scale restoration grants have to help implement the state forest action plans, and you need the endorsement of the state foresters. So NACD went on to get the support of 13 state foresters, which is no small feat, in just a couple months' time. And then we were off to the races. And in the summer of 2023, which was last year, they had gotten word that they were going to receive the funding. That was the full $600,000, which is what they had asked for. And then we were able to have an in-person meeting last May in New Jersey. And you might ask yourself, why New Jersey? And I see Kathy Hale is on the line from New Jersey. because New Jersey is awesome. And it also happens to be the geographic center of our partnership. And we were so lucky to have such terrific hosts in New Jersey and get out in the field and to really look at some of these really challenging issues that we're all facing, whether it's land acquisition, land management, forest health. Forestry is just a very challenging topic right now, especially in the face of climate change, and we're all seeing that. And then recreational access. So that's where we were, and that's where we have arrived here in 2024. And just, I think it was exactly a month ago, Sunday morning, August 11th, we gathered in person in Boston and at the National Association of Conservation Districts joint Northeast Regional meeting and some annual summer meeting, which included national folks. And even though it was a challenge to be in a windowless conference room at 8:30 in the morning on a Sunday, it was still really fantastic and lots of energy. And then thank you, Denise. You can talk more about how you were smart, and I think you were super smart. You were able to bring in the Northeast folks that were in attendance, and then we had a really robust discussion. We had a smaller conversation, and then the group got bigger over the course of the day. And we were supposed to break at 3 p.m. and we went after 4. So I think that shows all the interest. And I think we ended up with standing room only. We had over 50 people in the room by my count. And I think we'll forward to the next slide unless I've missed anything, Ashley or Denise. Okay. So you can tell I get excited about this project. So next slide. Perfect. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is who we are, where we are. For those who don't know, EPA Region 1 is the 6 New England states. And of course, we work with our tribes. And then Region 2 is New York, New Jersey. Region 2 EPA also includes Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. However, they are not officially a part of this project. And then Region 3, my colleagues, that's Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, West Virginia, Virginia, and the District of Columbia. And then Ohio is actually technically part of our EPA Region 5 office. So that's our footprint, and it's obviously a big geographic area, not quite as big as Texas to Virginia. So we have that going for us. But what we like about it is a lot of us, we have a lot in common with our geography and our climate. So I think that will serve us well as we try to take on some of these challenges together. And I think what I want to leave you with my part of this presentation is the Southeastern Partnership. It's an umbrella partnership with many disparate states from Texas to Virginia. We see ourselves as, I think the goal is, just like we're following the lead of West Virginia that has done a terrific job, to build a state partnership for forests and water in each state, ultimately with some support. So having this umbrella organization, contractor support in the form of Ashley, who is a superhuman, and then Annika running the project on behalf of the National Association of Conservation Districts, and then all of us bringing our expertise, our questions, our ideas, and solutions to the challenges we're facing. So I think that's it for my 2 slides, and I'll pass it back over, and we're going to have some discussion at some point. And I guess I would just ask, Carl, do you want to add anything? Okay. Sounds like Carl's all set. And Ashley, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kyra. Yeah, Carl, maybe if you do want to hop on a little bit later, we can you could share a little bit more about Landscape Soil Restoration Grant Program. I think that might be useful for folks on the call. But we'll come back to Carl. So moving on into our presentation. So for our LSR grant application, and we'll hear a little bit more about this hopefully later, we were lucky enough to tap into many partners. Many of you are represented on this call today, are represented in this list. This is not an exhaustive or inclusive list by any means, but these are all of the partners who were able to sign on to the 2 grant applications that have been submitted as with letters of intent and support for the partnership, and have meaningful roles within the 2 grants that have already been awarded. This list does not include especially the local implementation partners that really make this work possible, and a lot of the local partners that we're trying to engage with more. So if you're not seeing yourself represented on this list, or if you'd like to, or if you're a low or limited capacity organization that wants to get involved but aren't really sure, we'll talk about that and opportunities and ways a bit later in today's webinar. And also we're looking for some input from you all on how this partnership can best support you and your organization so that you can get involved without us overtaxing you, because we know this group is continually tapped into for many different collaborative partnerships and efforts and requests in your day-to-day jobs. We are eagerly trying to identify some additional partners and folks to be involved and to continue getting involved at the state level and the regional level. So keep that in mind as we move through here. But thank you to our partners in landscape who have been active, especially with those grant applications and with the work that's going on in the four states now. As part of our launch, as Kyra was saying, we had that in-person meeting in Edison last May. We found out just after that about the first Landscape Field Restoration Grant Award and have been working really diligently since last fall, so coming up on just about a year, to stand up a framework that would really make this a sustainable partnership in the long run. As part of our launch, we created our partnership mission and vision statements, which are up on the screen now. And these are helping guide us and focus our efforts while helping to communicate our purpose. Our mission is to create a collaborative network that leverages resources to manage, restore, and conserve forests and protect water resources. And our vision is for resilient and well-managed forests that improve water resources and create healthy watersheds. These really help us to make sure that we are, every time a new opportunity comes up or we're looking to expand or do work, to make sure that it really fits within our vision and mission. And we're keeping our work focused where we can make the greatest impact and where our partnership really fills this niche area within the region of support. As we continue to advance the mission, it's important for us to highlight we have 4 long-term goals. So each year we'll be working towards very specific goals, both at the regional level and the state, individual states that are working on implementation projects. So as we continue to advance the mission, we do still have these 4 major goals that we're trying to make sure are really integral in each of our annual plans. And these goals represent our overarching vision and strategic direction. The first is to foster collaboration between the forestry and water sectors. That's really the main purpose of why the Southeastern Partnership pulled together and was established, and why we modeled after them. Fostering effective, sustainable partnerships that focus on Northeast forest, water, and conservation. So we really want to lean in here, and leveraging these partnerships to align the forestry and water sectors in efforts to achieve water quality goals using state forest action plans. So some of that is bringing folks together, like on today's webinar and in our in-person workshops. Some of this is coming from trying to develop a shared terminology and understanding of the words that we use and words that work between the sectors, as well as other efforts as we move forward. Our second overarching goal is to build capacity to increase work in the region. So as I mentioned, we know that many of the partners and organizations that are already active and doing a lot of great work in the region, you have your own goals and expectations and work that you need to do. And we're trying to use this partnership as a way to build partner capacity, not to overtax you with additional needs, to be able to increase coordination, to provide training, to accelerate implementation of state watershed and regional scale projects that increase the availability of technical assistance and deliver on the ground improvement. So trying to utilize the LSR grant funds, trying to create structures and trainings and resources and opportunities that can really add value to our individual partners while we also achieve our goals under the grant. The third overarching goal is to increase implementation of best management practices of BMPs. So we're looking to conserve, restore, and enhance forest landscapes and priority watersheds through the implementation of projects that target riparian restoration and forestry pollution abatement. These were critical components from our first LSR grant application and work that we want to move forward throughout the region. So a lot of the state implementation projects that are working off of those state forest action plan goals really are targeting those areas with riparian restorations and forest pollution abatement, as well as other projects. And then finally, to align communications and outreach, looking to align communications between the sectors, forestry, water, and conservation. We want to develop and disseminate coordinated messages. We want to provide training and outreach to forest owners, members, and any other stakeholders and partners. So this is an area where we're hoping that a regional approach with some consistency and collaboration can really help to open up those lines of communication and provide you all with more resources. And what's new? So I said we've been working really diligently since last fall to pull together some resources and materials and move things forward with the partnership. So we launched our partnership website in July. If you're already getting our newsletter, you have gotten a newsletter announcement about this. So the website is up and it's being expanded and added to each month. We'll continue sending out newsletters to folks who have registered and signed up, and you can subscribe. You can see on the screen up here, you can subscribe, take a look at the events that are coming up as well as past events, check out our news updates, and then take a look at partners. And like I said, this website is continuing to be updated and expanded each month as we develop additional content and start releasing additional materials and scheduling events and are made aware of other events. So you can also submit events to us that you think folks within the partnership would be interested in for us to help co-promote and cross-promote through the partnership website. And we'll also be continuing to send out announcements to our listserv through the website. We also published a partnership fact sheet. So this is actually the first product that got finalized under the partnership. This is available through the website, and it includes just some background information very similar to what we're going through in today's presentation, what's new for this year and what the state implementers are doing. And we'll continue to update these. You'll see this one is from summer 2024. So we're planning to release a new sheet at least once a year, if not more frequently, to make sure that folks can have a nice, easy grab and go publication that you can take a look at, this 2-pager for what's new. We established a governance structure. We hold regular steering committee meetings. We also have a team of advisors that we tap into and provide excellent support to us. So we've been having regular steering committee meetings. We are working on standing up some additional work groups, including a research group. And then we have our local implementation teams who are continuing to do that on the ground work in Ohio, Connecticut, and West Virginia with the state partnership. And now with the award of the second grant, we'll be adding West Virginia and Pennsylvania state implementation partners to that group. And obviously all of you are great supporters, advisors, and general members. We established a branding package, so you'll notice a very consistent color scheme throughout the presentation today in our materials. We have a logo in these different formats, and if you're interested in using the logo, if you could just reach out to Annika or myself, we can help you understand kind of the limitations or what we'd like the logo to be used for and how to use it. And we also have the consistent brand packaging. We've put together some frequently asked questions. So these can also be accessed along with some information about how to talk about the partnership through the website in how to talk about the partnership PowerPoint that's been formatted into PDF. It includes a word bank with some quick grab and go, who's involved, what is, why, how, and some kind of tricky terminology that may have different meanings depending on the sector and industry that you work in. So there's some information around messaging that's included in that, and this is sort of our elevator pitch is also available through this how to talk about the partnership PowerPoint presentation that's up and accessible also through the website. With that, I'm going to pull up the website quickly so you can just take a quick look together. One thing I didn't mention that is also new for us is we are now on the Source Water Collaborative's map of partnerships. So we have our own summary write-up as well as being on the map here, this nice big green swatch area here that takes us down through West Virginia. So we're excited to be part of the collaborative map here as well. And here's the website. I'll put the link in the chat, and this should also be accessible if you're receiving our communications. It should be really easy to link and to access the website through the newsletter and any other email notifications that you're getting, like about today's webinar. And you'll see here within the website, we have again our homepage. This is where you can download that 2-pager if you're interested in looking at it or sharing it. Got some background about the partnership, mission, vision, partnership news, including links to this is where all of our previous announcements and newsletters will be housed. So if you missed our inaugural newsletter, you can just scroll down and check it out here. The information for today's webinar, down at the bottom, some links to our strategic plan, which is finalized, the newsletter, and we'll continue, like I said, adding to the website. And if you aren't signed up for our newsletters yet, it's an easy way to subscribe here on the last page. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Denise, talk a little bit about Connecticut's involvement, why Connecticut got involved, the projects that are going on, and help show her from her perspective the value of this partnership. Over to you, Denise.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thanks.
Can everybody hear me okay? Make sure I'm off of mute.
Thank you, Denise. Yes.
Thanks, Carolyn. Hi, everyone. I'm Denise Savageau, and many of you know me as the National Association of Conservation Districts Northeast Region Chair. For those of you who are, in the larger area that we're talking about here. But I also serve as the chair of the Connecticut Council on Soil and Water Conservation. And when NACD was looking for some state partners, the council was able to jump in. But let me just give you a little bit of history on some of the work we've done and why I think it's so important with this partnership. I think those of us who work in soil and water conservation understand that what happens on the land is what then happens to the water. In the Long Island Sound watershed, we like to say if it goes on the ground, it goes on the sound. It goes into the sound. Whatever we're doing on the landscape makes a difference. So the Landscape Scale Initiative just made total sense for us to jump into. And the Council on Soil and Water Conservation has been involved working on the watershed level for a while. And working with our partners at EPA on particularly source water protection, protecting our public drinking water supplies, but also looking at that in the context of, larger watersheds. So, for example, as many of you are familiar with the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service, RCPP, Regional Conservation Partnership Program, and we had a large RCPP. It was one of the first ones, and it included the whole Long Island Sound watershed. And one of the things we did there was looked at using land protection through the Healthy Forest Reserve Program, which we had some challenges with. So I'm not going to go there. It's always fun being the first one doing a brand new program. But the idea was that we looked at the watershed, not only protecting Long Island Sound and nutrient loading to Long Island Sound as an RCPP, but also that the subsets within that watershed were important. And so how would we prioritize which watersheds we were going to work on in the Long Island Sound watershed? And how could we leverage dollars? And one of the things we looked at was that understanding the public drinking water supply for the largest municipalities in New England, and actually New England and New York are in the Long Island Sound watershed. That includes public drinking water supply for the city of Boston, public drinking water supply that for the city of New York, public drinking water supply obviously for Hartford and New Haven and all of these communities in Connecticut that I work for and work in. And so looking at that and this relationship was really important with the watersheds. And what we found and what I thought is the beauty of this particular partnership is that the folks who weren't at the table were the folks we knew we needed to do land protection. And we know that that's really, really important. But we weren't always talking to the forestry people. So how does that fit into the forest action plan? How does it fit in? So I think Carl and Kyra really hit on a really important thing talking about that. So because of the work we did with the RCPP, and then following up where Connecticut was selected as a pilot project for public drinking water supply by USDA NRCS, we started really looking at how we were going to do source water protection in our state, looking at the public drinking water supplies. And because had done that project with NRCS, we were kind of set up and had done some work in a couple of our important watersheds and understood some of the work that needed to happen. And of course, when you're talking about protecting public drinking water supply, as with all watersheds, healthy forests equal healthy watershed. So it's all about not just riparian areas and whatever, but the whole watershed. How do we protect this watershed, and how do we look at how do we look at protecting the public drinking water supply watersheds? And that's how we got involved with NACD. And we were able to say, here's all the work we're already doing. So our pilot project in Connecticut is specific to source water protection. The partnership as a whole is looking at all watersheds and all water within our states. But the pilot project that we started with is looking at doing implementation, and we have $175,000 to do work on forest restoration. And so planning for forest restoration in our watershed. And we're looking to do that again in the public drinking water supply as a subset of the Long Island Sound watershed, understanding that the work we do to protect forests in these public drinking water supplies also protects the Long Island Sound. So we're always looking at that, that we're trying to coordinate what's happening there. And I just want to say, what has come out of this already? So we just started this grant. I think I can't say enough to NACD for taking on this mantle and getting all 13 state foresters in the 13 states that are involved in here, from Ohio and West Virginia to Maine, to sign on to this, because I think it opens doors. And I think Chris Martin is on from Connecticut. So thank you, Chris and Dan, for making sure that Connecticut was involved in supporting this. I think it's really important because the conservation districts, as well as some of the other partners, work with the local landowners. We work with the local land trusts. A lot of forest landowners are also farmers. We know that a lot of land in our states, people are who own large tracts of land. A lot of times they're farmers, but they also own large tracts of forest land, as well as just people who are just forest landowners, and including folks like land trusts and whatever. I think it's really important to be talking in those cases. And the other thing is that although we work very closely with USDA and RCS, the other beauty of this particular program is that the work doesn't have to happen just on private lands, which the EQIP program, the Environmental Quality Incentive Program with NRCS, is limited to working just on private lands. The landscape scale restoration dollars and the other dollars open up, and a lot of Forest Service dollars open up to be working on municipal lands as well. So we're able to work on municipal and/or, in this case, also, other public lands. So I think it's really important. So that's what we're looking to do in Connecticut. Again, working with our forest partners, what this has brought is all of a sudden there's a renewed alignment with the forest folks in our state, as well as with USDA, NRCS, and the conservation districts and our council. So this is actually already developed into a great partnership that we're seeing moving forward here. There's some other opportunities, as many of you know who are in the forest sector who are here, that there's many opportunities with the Infrastructure Act, as well as, just other opportunities to work with forests on land. So it's really, really important for folks to, do this and work on what we need to put together here. So I'm very excited that we're talking and working with our forestry partners in Connecticut. I think it's already benefiting our state, even though we haven't done the implementation work. And I'll just give you one more example. The Long Island Sound is part of the estuary program, EPA's estuary program. They have a comprehensive plan so they call it the Comprehensive Conservation Management Plan, that is being developed. And one of the things they're looking at with that plan is going up the watersheds. And they're looking at how best to evaluate whether we have a healthy watershed. How do we evaluate the Long Island Sound watershed and say that it's healthy? So one of the things we're looking at is some of the tools the Forest Service has put out in terms of forest cover and how healthy our forests are. So we're actually looking at that and putting that into the plan. And once that's out, it's in draft form now and it's going to be going out. It's like we really want our forestry partners, not only in Connecticut, but in the other states, to be commenting on this comprehensive management plan for the National Estuary Program. And I think bringing these partners together is just really important. I've already seen it happening in Connecticut. We're new doing this in terms of all working together. But I think it's really, really important that the water people and the forest people put together. So kudos to Kyra and Carl for getting us there, and then for NACD for applying for this grant, and for U.S. Forest Service for realizing the value of this partnership. So I'm going to stop there and see if anyone, I know there may be some other folks that might want to chime in from some of the other states, but we're really, really excited here in Connecticut to be part of this partnership. And I just see that this is really important to the work we do moving forward.
Thanks, Denise. That was excellent. Yeah, I did just add in the chat too. Is there anyone else on from some of the other state partnerships that'd like to share in your own words? We have a couple, brief write-ups here, but we'd really love to hear from you directly. I know some of the work hasn't gotten started yet, obviously, but just on your plans, especially for Pennsylvania and West Virginia. All right, well, folks are getting up the courage to hop on and share a little bit with us. I'm going to pass it over to Carl to just share a little bit on the LSR grant specifically and why it was such a great match for this partnership and the work we're doing.
Thanks, Ashley. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Yep. Thanks, Carl.
All right. Thank you. Once again, I'm Carl Honkanen. I am a watershed forester with the U.S. Forest Service, state, private, and tribal forestry. I'm based in Durham, New Hampshire, and my service area is the 6 New England states and New York. So just a brief history, the Forest Service started over 100 years ago, and a lot of it started because people were worried about water quality. The rivers and streams in northern New England were severely over harvested. Lots of sedimentation coming down the rivers and streams and clogging up water supplies, clogging up textile mills. And people said, "Hey, we got to fix this. What's going on here?" So lo and behold, the National Forest System was found supported by Congressman Weeks from Massachusetts, known as the Weeks Act. So this is nothing new to our agency. And I just wanted to talk a bit about the Landscape Scale Restoration Grant Program. This is a program that has funded this partnership that we're all discussing today. And it's the key to this grant opportunity, which is open now. And I'll put a link to the site on the page here in a minute. Every state has a state forest action plan. It's required by the USDA Farm Bill. So every state of these 13 in this partnership had some kind of a link to forest management and water quality, and that's why this project was funded. So any of you on this webinar, if you have an idea of how you can develop a project that supports forest management and supports water quality protection, this grant could be applicable to you as well. As I said, the FY25 request for applications is open now. There's a couple of important deadlines to think about. One of them is a draft should be submitted to your state forester, like Chris Martin on this call in Connecticut, by the 27th of September. This is a draft project narrative and budget. And then by the 15th of November, a final application, which includes a state forester support letter, will be submitted to grants.gov. So again, any ideas you have could be supported by this type of a grant for some other types of projects. And the last thing I'll add here is there is also This is, I believe, the second year we're offering a landscape scale restoration grant opportunity separately for tribes. So if there's tribal partners out there, tribes are also eligible for a separate LSR grant funded opportunity. And just as an example, I'm doing a prescribed fire project with the Seneca Nation of Indians in Western New York, and that's all funded by a landscape scale restoration grant. So I will post a link in the chat and would be happy to entertain anybody's questions.
Thanks, Carl, and thanks for putting that in the chat too. Are there any questions from folks? Everyone should be able to raise their hands and mute themselves. Yeah, I see a hand. Denise, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, quick. Actually, it was for Carl. Carl, just wanted to have you explain the landscape scale restoration grant from this perspective. I know that NACD is looking to apply again, and that because I have a lot of conservation district partners on here, as well as some of our other partners. But could you just say how they could be applying to make sure we maintain this partnership and do the work that we're doing, and there'll be some pilot projects in there, but the opportunity for an individual state or an individual watershed organization to piggyback on that, could you talk about that? Would that be acceptable?
Absolutely. And I think when we initially thought about this way back when, Kyra, we thought that, wouldn't it be great if every state would have its own individual water and forest partnership? I know West Virginia is well on its way to forming that individual state partnership, and we'd love to see other states do this as well. So if there's a state that's willing to step up, dissect your state forest action plan, find those linkages that your state forester, whatever state it's in, can support, then yes, a state could do this independently of what we're doing now in the big 13 state area. And there's a lot of information on our website. I'll post that in a second. We had a webinar a week or so ago, which I believe was recorded with information that you can view at your leisure. And yes, please apply early and often.
Carl, there's a question in the chat, which either you or I could probably try to tackle, which is from Ambrose Clausen. And the question is, are there any existing projects in Massachusetts going? And I think that relates to, are there any formal forest and water partnerships happening? And I would say absolutely. We can list many of our, for those of you in the New England area, we have a Regional Conservation Partnership Network, RCP, which is predates the RCPP program for the NRCS. And the RCP network has a gathering every year. That happens to be November 14th, the week before our in-person meeting. And I would encourage you to check out, it's the Wildlands and Woodlands website. I can throw a link in the chat. But yes, I would say we have, at least a half dozen to 10 formal partnerships, which include protecting water quality and land conservation in Massachusetts. So we can talk more offline. I don't know if you're with a district or who you're with, but we can certainly talk. And I'll put my contact information in the chat as well. Carl, do you want to add anything from a forestry perspective?
Sorry, I had too many pages open. Kyra's right. There's a lot of existing partnerships out there with nonprofit organizations, water suppliers. I mean, the granddaddy of them all is really the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority and the Department of Conservation and Recreation. That's a huge partnership, and obviously funded by ratepayers and the state. But there are a lot of other grant opportunities, and again, we can chat offline if there's more interest in that. Be happy to.
Great, thanks, Carl. And I think, Carl, you answered Kyra's question in the chat about the LSR webinars plan, saying that there has what is that one in the recording, and we can try to find a link to that to share it with folks as well, in addition to the website that you'll post. All right, great. Are there any other questions for Carl? Oh, Denise, I think you're muted.
I saw Monica White from West Virginia said she could say something about the West Virginia grant partnership.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, great. Okay, if there are no more questions for Carl, then yeah, Monica, we'd love to hear about what's going on in West Virginia.
Alrighty. Well, I could make a few comments about it, and that is we are very pleased with our last forum, which was this past May, and had a lot of partners there that really talked about implementing maybe some source water protection efforts. We don't have anything right now going on, but I did have contact for like source water protection areas and those kind of things. I think that went very well. Ashley, you were there, so you already know. But I think we had a lot of interesting talks and a lot of folks when we broke up into groups where we could really talk about maybe what could be done next. We're looking forward to the next forum, and then the end of this month, we're going to be discussing, having a planning team meeting and maybe discussing about what might happen next year. Would love to hear more about the second LSR grant that includes West Virginia, some projects in West Virginia specifically. Now I'm with Source Water Protection, so have tried to engage with water systems with source water protection plans to kind of bring them on board. But the partners who are getting the stuff done, like the local conservation groups or Forest Service, NACD, all that, those are the important folks that actually get those work done on the ground. So glad to see those folks show up at the meetings. I'm trying to think of what else we could say. Very much leaning on the Southeastern Partnership and Northeastern Partnership for information and kind of seeing how things were run. We do have the strategic plan and those kind of things. So if anybody's interested in anything we covered, I think one of the interesting things that we covered, and I'm not sure with the other states, but being the third most forested state in the United States is really great, but the huge amount of that forested area is actually in the private sector. So that's something as far as, we have contact for the public forest, state forest and U.S. Forest Service with your plans and BMPs, but I don't know how other states and all that handle the huge amount of private landowners and a better way to engage them. So I guess on my end, I'm looking for that and seeing more engagement with our water systems and also with private landowners, or how you reach out to private landowners that may or may not be participating in something where they have BMPs and that type of thing. Although I guess the gentleman from the Division of Forestry, not Division of Forestry, but it's sorry, I can't, I'm not keeping the name, not the Forestry Service, but the private forestry folks had really a lot of interesting information to share with us. I don't know if that kind of summarizes what we've done. Hopefully that is of worth for you all to listen to, but trying to just get more boots on the ground work done at this point and want to see more about that. So I guess if anybody ever has questions about West Virginia's partnership, please feel free to you can let me know, or Ashley knows how to get in touch. So like I said, that's kind of just a summary of where we are, and hopefully headed towards more engagement and work on the ground.
Thanks, Monica. Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, we have been hearing a bit more about engagement and working with private landowners from other partners too. So that is something that's definitely on our radar at the regional level to try to help with engagement and providing some resources or helping with information sharing between the states and efforts that are going on. And West Virginia, as Kyra said earlier, is a little bit of a different partnership because they got started ahead of the Northeast Regional Partnership with their state partnership. So a lot of work going on there in addition to what will be covered with that second LSR grant that's just really getting moving now in terms of paperwork. So yeah, Kyra, go ahead.
Well, to that end, I was going to ask if either John Triana from South Central Connecticut Regional Water Authority, or Erica Pocken from West Virginia, wanted to chime in on how water utilities tackle that question about working with private forested landowners, because I think that that's one of the biggest challenges that is faced by our water utility staff, is that they don't control all of their watershed lands. And in West Virginia, it's even more challenging because you use rivers as your drinking water supply, as we do in many states in New England, just not in Connecticut. So, so I didn't know if any of the water utility staff, we had a water utility panel in person in May of 23. So I found that very helpful to address the question that Monica just raised. So I don't know if either John or Eric are available to come on camera, or if there's anybody else from Regional Water Authority, but they are our hosts. And I guess it's 2 months from now. I didn't want to say next month, November 20th and 21st. We'll be out in the field, just like we were with New Jersey. And honestly, Kathy Hale, if you wanted to speak to it as well, I know you're on from New Jersey with the utility perspective. Everybody's being very shy this morning.
Yeah, this is John Triana talking. I'll just say a few things. I mean, we don't deal so much with private forest owners. However, there's a rule in Connecticut that if there's any activity going on a privately owned property that goes before a land use board, say P&Z or inland wetlands, it has to be reviewed by the water utility. So we have a Department of Environmental Planning that reviews all site plans that go to local land use boards. And we do talk to other people in the area, and the state owns a lot of land on our watershed. So we work well with DEP, with deep foresters. But I don't know if we work so much with private forest holders. I don't know if that answers your question, Kyra, or not.
And in terms of working with private landowners, I mean, we are a state agency at New Jersey Water Supply Authority. We are a state agency in but not of the state. We have no regulatory authority. So we can work with a whole host of different landowners, private and public. And I don't see our NRCS state forester on today, Don Donnelly, who would probably have some things to say about, what NRCS can do in terms of their work in New Jersey. But I think it's a great opportunity for all of us if we can work with the private landowners as well to kind of educate them, and then also see what kinds of BMPs we can implement on their properties.
This is Erica Pocken. Excuse me. I don't have a whole lot to add in addition to what has already been said. And I think for us, the key with working with private landowners is that it's more about collaboration and partnership. We don't have any type of, I guess, direct lines, if you will, into those folks typically. And so for us, it's a lot about working with others that have those relationships and that are already working in that space and have the trust of those forest and landowners. We've worked some with the West Virginia Forest Association and done some different presentations at their events or conferences and things, just to start the conversations and let them know what we're doing in that space, and helping them understand that nexus between drinking water and forestry. And then the other, like other folks have already mentioned, NRCS and those other types of agencies where they're working already in that space. So for us, it's a lot about being able to connect the dots with that. We have a lot of common goals, if you will, in terms of what our hopes would be for the watershed and how that makes a difference for, optimal drinking water and just better managing forests and just working to start getting projects on the ground, and just also providing any kind of support that we can, whether that's, financial support or just labor, different types of projects that are happening, and just how we can be involved with what things that are already going on in the watershed. So it's a lot about partnerships and collaboration, which hence why we're here.
Thanks, Erica. That's great. And the West Virginia Forestry Association, I think it's also the organization that Monica was referencing. So I know you all have done a lot of work with them and engaging them in the last few years at the state level.
Yep. And I'll add one more thing, just because I'm sort of have the floor for a moment. We also, AWWA, American Waterworks Association, recently selected the West Virginia Forestry and Drinking Water Partnership as a case study to highlight during Source Water Protection Week, which is coming up pretty soon, September 29th through October 5th. So we're really looking forward to seeing what AWWA does with that and just the additional awareness for the West Virginia partnership. So we're excited about that. That's our big news for the week.
Congratulations. That's great. All right. Excellent. So with that, those great updates and shares, really appreciate you all hopping on a little bit spur of the moment here to share with us. Really looking to just open these lines of communication and keep them open, especially as additional work starts happening and things start moving in Pennsylvania and West Virginia and continue moving in Connecticut and Ohio. All right, we're going to move into our last sort of workshopping part of today's webinar. So we asked a few questions when we were in Boston in August, and we want to ask you all the same questions so we can get an opportunity to really pull input from everyone that we've been able to engage with. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat. This is a Mentimeter, if you're familiar with them, and looking to collect input from everyone on 3 questions. They're the 3 questions that are up on the screen, similar to those that we asked in Boston. We are looking to get your input on how the partnership can benefit you. So really, what can the partnership do for you? How can we position limited capacity organizations to be able to engage in the partnership? So what are the kind of low barriers to entry ways that we can make sure that you all are getting engagement, you're getting resources, you're getting support, you're able to engage with the partnership and get benefits from the collaborations that are happening without having to put in a ton of time and effort on yourselves. How can we can make sure that we're aligning with your organization's goals as well, so that you can get some double dipping in some of these opportunities. So ways that we can serve you and ways that you would be able to engage in the partnership in a meaningful way. And then finally, what you want to hear about at the November Forum. So we've mentioned the November Forum a couple of times. That'll be taking place in Connecticut at Rural Water Authority. And so we'll talk about that a little more and share a save the date information in a minute. So we're just looking to capture some more information from a team a bit broader than our typical planning team here. Your responses to these questions are going to pop up in a word cloud that I'll share on my screen in a minute here. If anyone's having trouble with the Mentimeter, feel free to let us know, come off mute, raise your hand. And in the meantime, I will pull up our responses as they're starting to come in. We are going to look at this word cloud of responses, see if there are any trends here for what's coming in from folks. And if you are interested, we'll open the floor up also for people to be able to come off of mute and share more details if you have any specifically about the responses that you wrote in. We've got 18 responses. You can respond as many times as you want. So it should be set up here. So if you've responded once, but you want something else from the partnership, feel free to submit again. We'll get started taking a look at our first question here. 20 responses, that's pretty good. We've got 46 people still on the webinar, so looking to drum up those numbers a little bit. So far, our number 1 is collaboration. So a lot of folks are interested in collaboration. I'm going to ask a little bit more, try to dig into that with you all a little bit more here in a minute. Seeing a lot of networking, a couple of folks looking for grant writing. I think that's a new one that we haven't gotten before in asking for what you all would like from the partnership. Partnership, collaboration, networking, grant writing, capacity help, grants, application assistance. Great. For folks who wrote grant writing grants and sort of assistance here, if anyone feels comfortable, I'd really love for those who wrote grant writing, application assistance, or grants, if you could come off mute and just share with us a little bit more about exactly what would be most helpful, having a grant writing seminar or training, would something like that be beneficial, or you just don't have the time or trained resources to write grant applications? Provide just you're interested in funding, the funding that would come from grants. What are we specifically looking for? And if you're not comfortable coming off mute and on video to tell us, feel free to jot it down in the chat and we'll can talk through it. All right, so I have one chat to learn about grant opportunities and partnerships for those grants. Okay, that's great. Thanks, Carolyn. That's from Carolyn. So looking for this partnership to help promote when opportunities are coming up. So things like helping to cross promote the fact that we currently are in the open LSR grant application cycle and to help connect you all to partners that you might want to work with on this grant. Great. Anyone else? All right. And Kyra, yes, we can share save the chat and share it with folks after. And Megan's asking, can you please repeat the deadlines? So I think Carl had mentioned that Carl had to drop off. I know Katie was on too. I believe the draft to your state forester, as Carl said, was September 27th. Katie Branson, is that sound right?
Let me double check and I'll put the actual dates in the chat.
Okay. That would be great. Thanks, Katie.
Yep.
All right, so we'll get those the upcoming LSR grant application dates into the chat there. Anyone else want to elaborate on, make sure that we capture exactly what you're looking for from the partnership, from anything that you entered here? It doesn't have to be some of our biggest words. It can be anything that you'd like us to think about or consider providing through the partnership to help you. All right, then I'll move us on to the second question that we asked. The second question, what are some ways that we can engage with limited capacity organizations and still make sure you get high value from the partnerships? It's a little bit similar to what you want from the partnership, but getting into more of the mechanics. And so seeing here a lot of great input, explaining interactions, grant resources, sharing success stories, flexible scheduling, recorded trainings, workshops, webinars, writing technical advisors. That's interesting. That's a new idea. Grant writing, ample notice, data sources, technical transfer, BMPs, and events. So a lot of events, information, success story sharing, resources, and technical advisors and technical transfer. So those are a lot of really great ideas. Is there anything in here that folks would like to elaborate on or ask questions about? If there's an idea in here that you're interested in and want more info on? And thanks, Katie. Katie just put in the chat for everyone the dates for the initial proposals due to the state foresters and the final applications on November 7th and then November 15th. So thanks, Katie. All right, and our final question, what do you want to hear about at the November program? November forum got estuary programs, overdevelopment, forest and soil health, specific project ideas, funding, outreach, inspiration, provision for grant writing, ideas, grants, partnership access, and from hearing from water utilities. So they're all good ideas that we'll take into our meeting. We're actually having a workshop planning meeting on Wednesday. So we'll take these ideas into that meeting too, and make sure that the forum is really an agenda created by and for the partners. All right. Well, thank you all for participating and sharing, sticking on with us here. That's the end of our Mentimeter. We just have a few slides that we're going to share here just on reminders of how to get involved. I think a lot of this has already been shared. So if you're looking for ways to get involved, and I get notifications every time that somebody submits that contact form on the website. So I know a lot of you have already been on the website submitting contact forms here during the webinar, which is really exciting. That's our first suggestion for how to stay involved. Signing up for the partnership newsletter on the website. We're going to send out updates, make announcements. Once registration for the November meeting is open, which should be in the next week, that will go out through that listserv. So make sure you sign up so that you make sure to get that announcement. Keep engaging with partners, states, regions. If you're seeing other folks on the webinar today that you have worked with before or interested in getting to know, reach out. We want to encourage that crosswork, not just this information down from the partnership leadership group and organizations and administrators, but also within all of your organizations, and encouraging you to be able to know who else is involved and getting in touch with them to help leverage funding, continue making new connections, and accelerate the projects and work going on. Third suggestion is to attend the next partnership forum. So it's going to be in Connecticut, November 20th to 21st. And I see Kathy has a note in the chat, timing on agenda release. That'll be helpful trying to get travel approval. It's a great question, Kathy. I would say within the next month, but we will share that information as soon as we can. And we may be able to send out a straw man agenda kind of higher level before that, while we're still working on confirming speakers. And then finally, reach out, tell us what else you want to see from the partnership. As we continue to look at applying for additional funding and grants, we have opportunities to build in additional elements into the partnership and identify ways that we can best serve you all. So we'll take the Mentimeter input that we got from all of you, and if you have any other suggestions, ideas, questions, feel free to reach out. I know Kyra put her information in the chat. I can drop my email in. It'll be on the last slide here. If you've been working and communicating with Annika McGurk, she'll be back in a couple of weeks to chat as well. So just continue engaging and reaching out and asking us questions so we can best serve you. Yep. Reminder, November 20th, 21st at South Central Connecticut Regional Water Authority. We're going to be at their Lake Whitney Water Plant in Hamden, Connecticut. Really excited. We're going to have a similar format as we did for the forum in Edison, New Jersey in 2023. So we'll have a half-day field trip first day, and we'll have a full-day forum the second day with some great networking opportunities in the middle as well. And Denise dropped her information in the chat as well. Thanks, Denise. So feel free to reach out to Denise if you have any questions. Carl put his information if you have questions on LSR, and Katie said to reach out to her if you're in the Chesapeake Bay region and have questions about LSR as well. And here's my contact information as well if you have any questions, and that's our website again. I should be in the chat as well. So yeah, well, thank you all. That's all we have for our presentation material. If there are any questions, we're happy to stay on and continue discussing anything else with you all. Just really want to thank you for joining. Thank you to Kyra and Denise and Carl and Monica and Erica and John and everyone who hopped on to share and contribute to our conversation today, to all of you for participating and joining us. And thank you from us, and a thank you from Annika McGurk too, who unfortunately wasn't able to be here, but is our fearless leader with NACD, who again is leading all of this work and managing the grant. So we appreciate you joining us, and we hope to see you in November in Connecticut. Thanks.
Hi, Ashley. This is Lisa from the Connecticut Department of Public Health. Thank you so much for bringing us all together today. I was just wondering, I know in our Connecticut Council for Source Water Protection, which Steve Vitko actually chairs, you might be familiar with him. We were also talking about this November event, but I wasn't sure if registration information had been sent out yet.
That's a great question, Seth. Registration information has not been sent out, but it should be going out in the next week. So we'll get, registration will go out soon. Everyone that's on our listserv will get an email and notification once that's put out, and then we'll let folks that have registered or are interested know as more information on the agenda is available.
Great. Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, thank you.